Hey guys, how's it going? It's Philip with Trade Genius. In this video, I wanted to discuss the implications of today's meeting with the SEC and the CFTC regarding Ethereum and whether or not it's a security. So we're going to go over that and also the technical analysis of the implications of that decision. Before we dive into that real quick, I just want to remind you guys that we are running this special expires tomorrow, which is our spring special number 1399. You're going to be able to get the new signal service that we have, the Crypto Express, and that's going to be able to signal to you when our very powerful swing indicator fires on various time frames and over 45 different cryptos. So that's going to make things very efficient for you if you don't have a lot of time to look at charts. So we don't do that bundle very often, but we are now $3.99. Check it out at tradegeniusacademy.com. All right, let's get into this video.
Trade Genius.
All right, so today is the day where the SEC and the CFTC working groups, these are the United States regulatory groups for commodities and securities trading, they're going to get together today and meet on whether or not Ethereum meets the qualifications of being a security. And there's implications for the crypto space depending on what they decide it is. So I wanted to talk about what they're looking at and what the probabilities are, and also we'll take a look at the technical aspect of some technical analysis on Ethereum. So basically what the authorities use to determine if something is a security is if it passes the Howey test. So what that is a series of questions. This was developed to try to quantify if something is a security. So this Howey test asks these following questions. Is it an investment of money? So with Ethereum, that's part of the argument. Yeah, you did have to spend money on the initial coin offering of Ethereum to gain Ethereum. The second question is there an expectation of profits from the investment? This one's argued because those that wanted to get Ethereum wanted to run smart contracts. So this was a new technology, and people wanted Ether so that they could run it on basically the Ether virtual machine, right? So the argument is that not necessarily there wasn't a necessary expectation of profit at the time, more so that it was like a software licensing thing, or you had to pay to get a certain amount of ETH to run your programs or your smart contracts. So it could be looked at as like a software fee. So the third question is the investment of money in a common enterprise. The regulatory concern is that the Ethereum Alliance is the common enterprise, but the counter to that is that that's not the case. What you're doing is you're buying access into a common computing or shared computing platform. And then the question of, does any profits come from the efforts of a promoter or third party? And the Ethereum Alliance, they're pretty comfortable that ETH is not a security, and they think that this last point doesn't really apply because the fact that you're actually, when you run ETH or you have ETH, you're part of the ecosystem. It's not a third party, or your profits don't come from the efforts of a third party. You're part of the entire ecosystem, so that doesn't apply. So basically, the case for Ether being a security, the SEC, CFTC thinks that there was an investment in a common enterprise, Ethereum Alliance, and that the tokens themselves at the time weren't a useful item. And that's another way of kind of looking at if something's a security or not, is if when you're buying it, is it a useful item? For example, like a golf club membership, that's not a security because it's a useful item, or another type of subscription, things like that. It's not you're using that item. They're saying that the tokens at the time weren't useful because the Ethereum ecosystem or blockchain wasn't functional at the time. So that's a sticky point. It may be that just they determined that the actual initial coin offering wasn't compliant, but that what's been established now doesn't really quantify Ethereum as a security. That's one outcome. And then to sum up the case for why Ethereum is not a security, basically they're, again, the summary is that they don't think it's a security. They've consulted their lawyers and other legal counsel, and basically they think their take is that this is a way of accessing a shared computing resource. So it's a useful item, right? It's interesting because there's, you can see both sides of it. I think it basically probably comes down to the ICO part of the Ethereum. They could probably say that wasn't compliant, but now Ethereum is a useful item, and so you might have a mixed message from the regulatory agencies. My feeling is that at this point in time, Ethereum isn't a security because it is being as a useful item to access the shared computing platform of the Ethereum blockchain. So technically speaking, on the price side, you can see ETH has had a nice recovery run up, as it has with most cryptos or altcoins, and it since has pulled back on this news. Basically, this is just kind of like the eve of the announcement kind of jitters. A lot of buy support came in at this level here. This is Ethereum BTC at 0.0749. We can also look at Ethereum USD, and right around 700 support came in, which is right around this prior support here that you can see, or resistance, I should say. So I believe the meeting is somewhere in the vicinity of 11 a.m. It is a closed door meeting, and we may not even hear about the results till later. We may not even hear today. So basically, this may be a little volatile until that comes out. And when it does come out, the answer does come out. If ETH is a security, there will be implications that we will discuss, but I would expect a pretty sudden knee-jerk response down. And the strategy here, guys, is that you may think about getting some bids in that are pretty stupid low for a knee-jerk reaction. A couple of things there is, one, this will ultimately resolve itself, I think. There will be some implications on exchanges. They would be delisted from American crypto exchanges, at least or suspended until the proper paperwork could be filed to handle Ethereum as a security. And so that's going to take a chunk out of volume. People are going to have to deal with overseas exchanges, and then those exchanges may not want to deal with US customers. So that's probably going to put a hit on the volume of Ethereum. So you could put in a very lowball bid. And if you can see here, a lot of the price action, big chunk of the volume came in this area here of this 200 to 400 area. So you're probably going to get a knee-jerk bounce if that happened there. This is worst case scenario, guys. I'm not saying this is going to happen, but you could place some orders there because you're going to, if you did knee-jerk down into this area, you're going to get a pretty significant bounce, and it'd be quick, so you'd have some quick profits. But otherwise, I think that they come back, and this is a good thing too, because you're going to have to get these answers sooner or later. And so it's best to get this out of the way. But they come back and they say, yeah, ETH is not a security at this point. Maybe the initial coin offering wasn't compliant, but itself right now it's not a security. I think you're going to see a major rip in Ethereum. It's probably, I would not be surprised if we start attacking these all-time highs in relatively short order. Okay, so it is a big deal. This decision is a big deal. And so when we do get word of it, we'll come out with a video and we'll discuss basically what the plan of attack for Ethereum is at that point and what the other implications are for the space as a whole. All right, guys, so pretty interesting day. Depending on if we hear anything or what we hear, it could be proved to be very volatile. I don't think it really affects Bitcoin long term, because that's a whole different thing that's not subject to this question. And there might be some negative impacts at first, but I think you'll see if it is deemed a security, BTC, I think ultimately it's going to bounce. A lot of money is going to flow out of Ethereum back into Bitcoin. But again, I don't think that's going to. I'm leaning toward the decision that it's not going to be a security, and I think we're going to see a positive impact on crypto markets from that. So anyway, I wanted to get this video out, share my thoughts on it, share a little bit of a strategy on as far as what we hear, and we'll visit this after we hear some more concrete things from the SEC and the CFTC. So, all right, guys, thanks for watching. Please hit like and subscribe, and I will see you on the next video. Take care. Bye.
Trade Genius.